The Big Three in the industry is referred to as Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo Rakuten. Getting there first is everything, and that's exactly what Kobo did with the Clara BW, the first of the large e-reader companies to employ Carta 1300, an e-ink screen technology that e-ink barely even knows about themselves. This marks the third unit in the world to use Carta 1300 after the iReader X3 and a domestic Chinese Onyx unit. Carta 1300 gives you a 27% increase in refresh and a 20% increase in overall contrast quality. The unit itself isn't particularly amazing from a design point of view, but it's all the extra things that matter. The biggest bonus is the right to repair, teaming up with iFixit to repair things like the circuit board, the battery, the screen, and more. More on this in a future video. So without further ado, let's get into the Kobo Clara BW with a Carta 1300 screen. Let's check out the design, shall we? This unit hasn't prioritized appearance. There's really nothing aesthetically pleasing about it at all. There's a logo there, it's black, it's rounded corners, that's it. There's no physical patron buttons, there's no contrasting color, anything like that. They have prioritized utilitarian nature of it, so it is made out of recycled materials, it is waterproof, they've minimalized the LED indicator, and overall they have a sunken screen and bezel that is prioritizing the overall appearance of the Carta 1300 screen. Nothing on the top, nothing on the sides. The only thing that happens is on the bottom there's a USB-C, and on the back you get this nice kind of lily pad perforated leather looking backing, which is replaceable, and you have a sunken power button with a Rakuten logo. That's basically it. That's the whole thing. Getting into the UI of things, this is much the same, which honestly I much appreciate that it is the same. It doesn't have to give you a new learning curve like going from a note of Onyx over to a poke over to a page, where the operating system is different every step of the way. This one is just the same kind of thing. You have your glow light up above. You don't need to have it on like Kaleido. You have your Wi-Fi, your battery, your synchronization updates, and your search. This doesn't just search the store, it searches your entire device actually, so just keep that in mind. You have your books up top here, my books right here. Take a quick tour, and then you have some other things that discover things you're related to. The thing I like about Kobo is that when you get a Kindle, there's only a very small segment in which is yours. Everything outside it and around it is store services, subscription services. Kobo doesn't really do that. They leave your things in the middle, and they push everything off to the bottom like the store. The store is very nice as well. You can click on something and go into your final buying decision. From there, you get various different things where you can buy it, wish list, you can do a sample, you can read reviews, detailed, related, etc. Going over to more, now you might be noticing you're missing something. You're missing actually two somethings. You don't have Google Drive and you don't have Dropbox like you do on the other devices. And even the Clara Color doesn't have that either. So unfortunately you'll have to get the Libra in order to get those services. Here you only get Pocket. Pocket is a system in which you can go on your phone, tablet, or PC. You can save articles and they automatically get synced into here. You can watch our other reviews if you want to see that. It's pretty straightforward. It's a very passive system. You also have My Wish List, Activity, Beta Features, Settings, and Help. Beta Features is interesting because you get large print mode, which should be beta, but then you get things like Web Browser, which is kind of interesting because it is and it isn't beta. If you saw one of our other videos, that the web browser can't handle certain e-commerce websites, but then other things like Google, it handles quite well. So it's kind of a split decision as to whether after 10 years this should still be considered beta. Taking a page out of the world of Pocketbook, they have Sketchpad, which is pretty interesting, honestly. No, it doesn't work with the Rakuten Kobo stylus, unfortunately, or the Gen 2 stylus, which would have kind of been cool if it did, just passively through electromagnetic resonance, or even it would somehow communicate with the capacitive nature. That'd be a little bit of a cool secret, but it doesn't. So you get undo, redo, refresh, clear, and save. That's essentially it, and it saves it as an SVG so you can view it later. It's just kind of a nice way to have something to jot down notes if you had to, but honestly, it's not an extensive note-taking experience by any degree. Because they no longer use SD cards that are inserted into the actual PCB, The unit is much quicker. This is very fast for a Kobo. And remember guys, there's no speed modes. There is no user controllable A2 or speed or extreme or HD 256 or anything like that. This is just the raw experience. Look how snappy that is to get to the next page. And not only does it get to the next page within as fast as you see it, that's the final image. It doesn't need to render, it doesn't need to process, it's not a sample of what you're about to see in 2.5 seconds. It is the final image. This is the fastest Kobo line of devices they've ever released. It is lightning quick. And I must say, the Carta 1300 screen really does shine, and we'll get to that just in a second after we look at books. The ebook experience is also very nice. You do get the ability to pinch and zoom, which bypasses the text augmentation. So what that means is if you pinch and zoom, you can see you can jump text levels. Otherwise, you'd have to go like this, go over to the AA button and find your ideal text settings. Again, everything is just lightning quick. You get a quick refresh on the screen to just make sure everything's nice and clear. You also get advanced, which gives you a before and after, what things are going to look like. You can choose your text, you can choose your font, and you can say, wow, that's what it was before, that's after. I don't like that, let's go out of here. They give you that option. You can also long press and highlight everything as well. Now, unfortunately, you don't get all the cool colors you get on the Clara Color, but it is still nice. You can also search in book, Wikipedia, and Google, and you can leave a note as well. Outside of that, the e-reading experience is beautiful. This is the best 6-inch they've ever made, and that's subjective against the color version, because you might say, I like color better, so I consider that one best, but they're essentially clones of each other, these two units, the Clara and the Clara Color. The BW version stands for black and white, of course, so it's black and white, but I must say the contrast is absolutely on point. It is a pure white, it is super clear, and all the rounded characters like the O's and P's and D's, etc., are absolutely flawless. There's no pixelation, there's no fuzziness, there's no blurriness, and the fact is that they have less things in front of the screen and the viewable surface. You can see here there is a sunken nature to it, which means it's not flush screen and bezel like a pocketbook, for example. That's a flush screen and bezel. This one is not. It is sunken, which means there's no top coat layer of glass. There's no screen protector on top. Everything is exposed. It's not truly exposed because there's fail-safe layers, there's the glow light layer, there's the touch digitizer, etc. But it is as exposed as can be without damaging the screen with your fingertips as you're touching it. You never truly interact with the EPD, the electronic paper display, with your fingers. There's always things in front of it, but this is as good as e-readers will ever look using Carta 1300. Something personally I've never seen before on a Kobo, Amazon, or a Barnes & Noble is page forward and back by. There's a toggle here that you can actually switch from tapping or swiping to swiping only. And what this does is it eliminates the chance of you holding it and accidentally interacting with the touch panel that will then change the page. You actually have to navigate and have your finger travel distance in order for it to change pages. I thought that was a very nice touch. Finally, in terms of the data side of things, I like this. This is reading stats, or activity as they call it right here. This is really cool because this gives you a lot of encouragement to keep reading, and it gives you referable data. For example, hours of reading, average minutes per session, total hours reading, how long to go approximately, current chapter, what you're reading, etc. This one gives you encouragement to kind of go back and say, you know what, I didn't spend very long on this one. Hey, it's only 4 hours till I finish this book. Let's power through it, kind of thing. Very nice system implemented, and it is one of the main settings in the settings menu here out of the 7 or odd things you can choose from. Finally, a quick little treat for you guys. That's the Kobo Clara BW, and look what we have here. A Kobo Rakuten Kobo Touch. This is a Japanese version, and thank you to Rakuten for sending us this sample to do a comparison. This is the Touch edition with Wi-Fi, and this thing is 13.5 years old. Now, just looking at these two side by side, with the naked eye, it is blatantly obvious how different these are. You'll see that the background is a little bit grayer than this, and these are also significantly more clear. Also, the text is very large on these, and this is because if it was any smaller, it'd be too blurry to know what's going on. Yes, I know it's in Japanese, but still. Look how big the symbols are, from the battery to the Wi-Fi to the search. These are all kind of fine line pencils. This almost looks like it's done with a marker, and that was out of necessity because it's just simply too low resolution. When you click on something like a manga, it gets even more apparent because, honestly, these things are almost night and day. Now you might say splitting hairs, it doesn't look that different, but again, with the naked eye outside of a camera, it does speak volumes. But either way, this has significantly more blurriness, and it's almost like there's a layer of translucent film on top washing everything out, whereas this one is just so fine line, 0.5 millimeters, mechanical pencil kind of thing. It's just can't really be compared nowadays. They're just so far apart in technology, in speed, in display. This is the latest possible e-ink screen technology, and this is just from so long ago. You can even see here the base contrast levels, how you get this regal signature signias on the outside here, but here it just gets lost because the details are so fine that it's not able to produce it. And just the grayscaling of all this kind of aged blotching on this parchment paper, it gets completely lost because it just doesn't have the capabilities of doing so. Same thing with these kind of rays of light. Everything's just one big gray blob, whereas this, you get the individual layers of distance, of cloud coverage, etc. It's very interesting to see that a lot of people say e-ink hasn't moved very far. Well, within the capabilities of the technology, this is a huge, significant leap in the past decade. It is hard to convince a lot of people that use tablets and say, I would never buy an e-reader because I can just buy an iPad. And those people, unfortunately and fortunately, aren't our clientele, and they're not people that would consume our content due to their unwillingness to kind of get on board with the technology itself. But it does speak volumes that the new Kobo line and the new Carta screen technology is just so much more capable of delving into the detail, the contrast, the richness, the vividness, basically every metric of what is visible on media content over previous units. A Carta 1300 screen, tried and true operating system, and a unit with tons of perks like recycled materials and the right to repair makes this leaps and bounds better than the other 6-inch devices in their lineup. However, we know it's an e-reader, but it is a little bit on the limiting side. Its design is cookie cutter, and honestly it feels more like a refresh rather than a new unit, seeing that they have a color variant that is taking the limelight. All things considered, this is the third unit in the entire industry who has used Carta 1300, and the first of the big three to do so. They took a big risk on this latest lineup of devices, experimenting with color and screen technology so secret e-ink themselves don't even know what it is. But I honestly think it has and will pay off, as this is going to cement them as one of the greatest e-reader companies in the game